Maybe you've heard the saying before, everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. What's that have to do with gender roles in marriage? Let's get into that right now. Hey everybody, this is Nate Warnock, and you've got me on Testosterone Tuesday. This is a show that I get to do every Tuesday where we take a look at what the Bible says about what it means to be a man, as well as some practical conversation about how we can better fulfill our roles as fathers and as husbands. Now, before we continue, guys, I wanted to ask you, if you're watching on YouTube, if you'll click the subscribe link down below the video. Once you click it, there will be a little bell next to it. If you'll click that as well, that way you will be notified when we come out with new content each day so that you can check it out. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or one of the other platforms that partner with us, I'd love you to just give us a good review if you believe we have good content. If not, no worries. It helps other people be able to find us, hopefully gets the word out about Marriage by Design and everything that we're doing here to His glory always. So this month, we're talking about gender roles. And I'm sure that even just the term gender roles on a video series is a little clickbaitish, I suppose. But rather than taking the normal line of, hey, let's talk about what the role of our wives should be playing in our families, we're saying, look it. If we want gender roles and the day-to-day functioning of our marriage and our home to be right, we got to be focused on this guy first. Because if I'm focused only on my wife, then my entire idea of marriage and roles within marriage is constantly waiting for her to do what I think she ought to do. And as we believe, and as the Bible teaches, we're responsible for ourselves, right? We're responsible for being obedient to what the Scripture calls us to as men, as well as stepping into the role that we've been asked to step into. So what is that role? Well, last week we took a look at Ephesians, right? Where Ephesians in chapter 5, starting in verse 27, Paul specifically calls men to sacrificially love their wives. Right? We're called not just to be leaders in the home, although we are called to be leaders in our home, but we're called to be leaders in our home by sacrificing for our wives. This is something that is completely lost in today's culture. The idea of sacrificial leadership, completely gone. Right? I mean, we think of leadership as somebody like Nick Saban, or somebody like Donald Trump, or someone like any of those strong personalities where it's, yeah, this is leadership. I delegate things out, I tell other people where to go and what to do, and I make sure it gets done right. That is, can be leadership, and there is a place for strong leadership, right, within the home as we discipline our kids and raise them to be the men and women of God that we desire them to be. Sometimes there's even room for that strong leadership with regards to our conversations with our wife. Someone needs to make decisions within the home when it comes to difficult situations. Maybe a situation where you and your wife maybe disagree, maybe where you're both sort of in agreement, but someone needs to make the decision. The Lord has tasked us as men with taking that role of leading the home and making those decisions. That also means that we take the responsibility for doing so, which means we will answer to the Lord for how we stewarded His daughter that is our wife, for how we stewarded His sons and daughters that are our children. So how do we step into that role better of sacrificially loving our wives? Well, I want to take a look at a couple of things today as we really consider the idea of sacrifice as men. Because I would submit that when it comes to gender roles for men, this is our role, to sacrificially lead our home. That means at any moment, we're willing to lay down ourselves, what we want, in order to show our love to, first and foremost, as we're talking today, our wives, but also to our children. Now, you may listen to that and think, well, what's that mean? Did you mean I don't ever do anything that I want and I just sacrifice for my wife and my kids all the time? Yes and no. right? I mean, yes, we need to be willing to sacrifice anything for our wife and our kids. But at the same time, it is good to have structure set up within your home where you have time to rest, right? Rest was really important to the Lord. We saw in creation that on the seventh day, God rested. Right now, God didn't need rest, right? God's all powerful. He doesn't need rest. But at the same time, he found it important to give an example to Adam and Eve, eventually, here on the earth, of what it looks like. Right? Well, why did Adam need to rest? Was he that overworked? Well, no, but God has given us such amazing creation and things around us. He wants us to take time to enjoy those things and give glory to him. Well, one of those things that he's given you and me is a wife, right? The wife of our youth, as it's described in the Bible. We need to be taking time to enjoy our wives, right? To enjoy our home and the other things that the Lord has given us. That rest is important. So yes, sacrifice is important. So is taking time as a family and as a man to rest and enjoy the things that the Lord has given us. The issue is we can fall quickly into this idea of, I'm a man, I need to be acting strong and decisively and telling people where to go and what up and all that. And the problem is, as we look at scripturally what it means to be a human being first, but also a man, I think there's some insightful thoughts on that need to be explored. So we're going to look at a verse in Matthew, and then we're going to look at a verse in Mark. So first, in Matthew, if you turn to Matthew 16, starting in verse 24, it reads like this. Then Jesus told his disciples, "If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. For what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul? Or what shall a man give in return for his soul? For the Son of Man is going to come with his angels in the glory of the Father, and then he will repay each person according to what he has done. Truly I say to you, there are some standing here who will not taste death until they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom." The main part of that I want to touch on is the idea of denying ourselves. Right? The Bible is full of these interesting juxtapositions. Right? You want to gain life, you have to lose it. You want to live for eternity, you have to die. Right? There's these interesting juxtapositions that the Lord puts up. And marriage is no different. Right? If you want a marriage that's filled with joy and life and fulfillment and happiness, that marriage has to be based on ideas of self-sacrifice, putting the other person first, thinking less of myself and more of the other person, obedience. Right? These are not like sexy marriage terms. Right? I mean, we don't necessarily advertise for marriage, hey, get married so that you can spend the rest of your life sacrificing for another person. The reality of the matter is that's what we're called to in marriage. In fact, I would submit that lack of understanding is one of the problems that has driven up the divorce rate and created such a disaster in marriage within this country, because people don't ever think about that before they get married. They just, hey, there's this girl, I love her, we're going to get married, and then she's going to treat me just the way I want to be treated because she loves me, and that's what will happen. And then I'll treat her the best way that I can. Or even worse, people play house, right? Shack up together before they're married and create this dependence that really doesn't resemble marriage. Because here's the reality of the matter. Marriage is designed by God to be a picture of his love for the church, which means if you're shacking up together and not married, you're actually helping Satan to pervert that image. Because other people look at that and go, well, wait, but God loves me, but there's no commitment there. See, it perverts the idea that marriage is a covenant relationship with eternal commitment attached. So when I make that covenant to Andrea, what I'm saying is that nothing except my death will ever break this. It's exactly the commitment the Lord makes to us in the covenant that he made through Christ's death on the cross. Right? His commitment to us is that if we confess with our mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in our heart that God raised him from the dead, we will be saved. Nothing can separate us from that covenant and that love of Christ except our death. And then even at the moment of our death, then we're brought into the fullness of that covenant relationship by being able to spend eternity with God in heaven. And that's what we have available to us. That's what marriage is a picture of. So if you're shacking up together outside of marriage and you feel like, man, this is super easy, probably because Satan hasn't even started attacking you yet. There isn't any reason for him to. Right? You're already perverting the picture of marriage. Now then, so you decide that at some point, hey, let's just go ahead and let's make it official. Let's sign the paperwork and let's get it done. And then all of a sudden people go, and we hear this all the time. Man, we lived together for years. It was super easy. We always got along. Then we got married, and now I feel like all we ever do is fight. Yes, because now you're married. Now you're a threat. See, now Satan can pervert your marriage by making sure it ends in divorce so that everyone else looks at that and goes, yeah, see, God's not committed to me. As soon as things get hard, he bails. And you might be saying, nobody looks at marriage and thinks that. Wrong. Right? Talk to kids who grew up around divorce and the issues that they struggle with thinking of God as their dad and thinking of their relationship with God as an intimate marriage relationship. 100% it hinders them from being able to walk in union with the Lord. So how do we prevent that? Well, Jesus said it right here to his disciples. You must first deny yourself. Right? And that's not a direction simply to married couples, right? Jesus was talking to his disciples. He was saying, as humans, we need to deny ourselves and take up our cross and follow the Lord, right? Deny ourselves so that we can live lives of obedience before the Lord. In Mark chapter 10, verse 43, it says, but it shall not be so among you. And he's referring back to the verse earlier where he was talking about there were rulers of the Gentiles that lorded over the Jews. And Jesus said, but it shall not be so among you. Whoever would be great among you must be your servant. And whoever would be first among you must be slave of all. For even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. Now you may say, and you may go look at it, and I would encourage you to do that, and go, rightfully, hey, Jesus isn't talking about marriage in that particular verse. And while I would grant you that point, he was not, I would also say, take a closer look at verse 45. For even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. For what? For his bride. For us, his people. For the church. Right? Not the building of the church. The people of the church. Jesus, in fact, the Bible even says, Jesus did not consider equality with God something to be grasped, but instead embraced the skin of a human. Right? Came down to walk among us, live the perfect life, and ultimately die for our sins. Why? Because he loved us that much. Because we're his girlfriend. Right? We're his wife. We're the one he desires more than anything else that intimate relationship with. And he was willing to sacrifice his entire life. His entire, from birth through the time he died at 33 years old, his life was nothing but sacrifice for his wife. Not doing the things he wanted to do, not sinning in thought, word, or deed. His entire life was one big sacrifice. I struggle sometimes myself with, man, I just feel like all I do is sacrifice. Or, man, God, well, I feel like, why is it so hard? Why can't it just be easier? Maybe you struggle with some of those same things. Both you and I need to come to a better understanding of what our life really is as a sacrifice to the Lord. Jesus went 33 years, and he loved us so much that he never said, he always put you and me first. Because he knew if I sin even one time, then I'm screwing it up for my wife, the church. I'm screwing it up for all the people that can spend eternity with me if I can go through with this on behalf of those people, sacrifice for them. And yet we can have a hard time setting the table, doing the dishes, or taking out the trash. Man, that sounds pathetic even as I say it. And that's as me that struggles with those things. Right? We can struggle to live with understanding with our wives for a week. Right? Maybe you have some stuff in your past and you look at your wife and go, no, I'm not sacrificing for you. Imagine what Jesus thought when he was looking at Nathan's life. Right? Multiple adulterer, 4-time loser, took over 8 years to get serious about marriage. And yet Jesus said, you know what? I love him enough. I'm going to sacrifice for him. Not just today, but tomorrow, the day after that, all the day until I'm 33 years old, I'll be nailed to a cross and die on his behalf. Why? Because I love him. So he felt about you too. And that's the calling on our lives. Can we sacrifice like that for our wives? Not because they deserve it, but to the glory of God. Right? To be able to say, God, I made a covenant to you on my wedding day that I'm going to live a life of sacrifice. That's the role that men are called to play in the marriage. To be the leader, right? To step up to the plate, to be willing to lead the family spiritually, to be willing to wrap our arms around our wives and pray for them once a day. I'm not good at that. I need to be better at that. But to lead spiritually our wives, to empower our wives to be all that the Lord calls them to be, to encourage them, right? To bring up our kids in the way that they should go. That's our calling, but to do it sacrificially. Because we can do that. We can be the leader by barking orders around, sending you there and here, there, and you go do that and you go read that. You can do it that way. It's short-term gain, right? Long-term, you lose moral authority with your wife. You lose moral authority with your kids. Because if you really want to make lasting impact on your wife and on your kids, do it by laying down your life for them. Not just in the big way of jumping in front of a bullet, but in the everyday little bullets that come through your life. The things I don't want to do that, but it will mean a lot to my wife. Do it. It's the quickest way to win your wife's heart. If you're having a hard time right now and you feel like, man, I'm in a place where I'm not even sure my wife notices me right now, let me challenge you. Go to deeper levels of sacrifice with your wife. Be willing to be vulnerable and ask her, what can I do to better serve you today? What can I do to better serve you this week? And over time, as she sees the sacrifice that you're putting up, man, I'm convinced the Lord will do a work in her heart. For the rest of us, all of us, let's go about this week and let's make it our challenge to do one thing every day the rest of this week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. One thing each week where we go, I don't want to do that, but I'm going to do it as a sacrificial act for my wife. See if your relationship looks different on Sunday than it looks right now. Guys, thanks so much for joining me. A little bit long today. Sorry about that. But I think it's important that we better understand what it means to fulfill our role as men in marriage. It's probably not what you thought it was. It's definitely not what the world's trying to tell you it is. But it's definitely what the Word of God says it is for men in marriage. Guys, thanks so much for joining. Remember what we always say. It just takes balls to be a guy. It takes true godly wisdom to be a man. Have a great week. See ya.
Hey, thanks for joining us on Marriage by Design. If you were impacted by this video, like it by hitting the thumbs up below. Also, don't forget to subscribe, and once you subscribe, hit the bell icon so you can be notified when new episodes release.
Excellent. Also, one of the huge pillars of our show is interactivity between us and you. So we would love you to comment down in the comments below if you have thoughts about this video or if you have questions or other things you'd like to see considered in the future. In addition, if you'd like, you can email us. That's marriagebydesignpodcast@gmail.com. We're also on Instagram @marriagebydesignpodcast, or you can find us on Facebook by searching Marriage by Design Podcast. Finally, if you want to, you can tweet at us. We do have a Twitter account that is @MarriageXDesign. Thanks, and have a great day.